everyone! I apologize for the stack of empty boxes back here, but I've already started my Christmas shopping, so a lot of deliveries have come in the past few days, so it's been a little hectic over here. I've also been doing my workshop for training credits that I've been doing for my certifications. The last day is tomorrow. I don't get the holiday, unfortunately, because of this workshop, but I do get so valuable training credits that help me keep my certifications up to date, so there's that. But I wanted to get a wrestling video, guys. One centered heavily on AEW. I want to talk about the AEW Full Gear pay-per-view. I have not had a chance to review yet. I did watch it on Saturday night, but I haven't had a chance to actually get a video review out to you guys. So unless you follow me on Twitter, which, by the way, follow me on Twitter. The link is in the description. You don't know how I felt about the pay-per-view. So I want to get that out to you. And I want to talk about a somewhat big announcement that AEW let go to regarding the future of their video. But before I get into that, I want to announce that something I've got the itch to do. I want to try and do another live stream, God willing. I don't get shut down this time because it's been they've been really cracking down on me whenever I've tried to do the live lately. But I want to do another live stream, this one being centered on Survivor Series. So what I want to do is do a live stream, or live reactions, watch-along for a Survivor Series event. Now, which event? I'm going to let you all pick it. I've narrowed it down to 3. There will be a poll posted on my Twitter page. So, again, go to my Twitter, link is in the description, and you can go select your answer for the poll. Which Survivor Series do you want me to do a watch-along for? And I'm going to make a case for 3 of them right now. My 3 selections are 1987, the first Survivor Series event, the one that started it all, the big showcase for the team elimination matches that kind of defined the Survivor Series event. And I think it's, even today, it stands as one of the best examples of how to do the team elimination matches. You have a card of nothing but team elimination matches, but all of them are different. You get a wide variety of talent and feuds put on display. And it's very colorful and exciting all the way through, including at what at the time was my favorite women's match of all time, being the Survivor Series match, Team Moolah versus Team Sensational Sherry. And that would be a fun match to relive. There's also the opening match with Randy Savage's very colorful babyface team of himself, Roberts, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. So that match is definitely worth a watch. There's also the 10-team, 20-man Survivor Series match, which is a great example of just how deep the tag team division was back then for the WWE, WWF at the time. And finally, we get the main event, Team Hogan versus Team Andre, the first time that Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant have been in the same ring, the same arena together since their classic battle at WrestleMania 3. And it proved to be quite an interesting matchup that set things up for the future. The big thing being Hogan and Andre's big rematch at the main event, which in turn set up WrestleMania 4. So a very important event from start to finish, and one that I would be very interested in watching yet again. The other event I've selected is 1990. Now, why is that one important? Well, since this is the month of The Undertaker, as WWE is designated as so, and this year's Survivor Series is going to be designated as the final farewell to The Undertaker. And we'll see if that actually sticks. But we are commemorating the 30th anniversary of the Undertaker character. I think it would make sense to actually go back and look at the Survivor Series event where he debuted, the 1990 event, where he was part of Ted DiBiase's $1 Million Team. And right away, you could tell that there was something special about this character, something special about this talent. It was apparent almost immediately that Undertaker was going to be a force to be reckoned with in the WWE at that time. So that's my main motivation for going back and watching that event. But there's other stuff on there I enjoy as well, like the Warriors versus the Perfect Team, which gives you one of the coolest Survivor Series teams of all time. The Ultimate Warrior, the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, and the Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal, taking on Mr. Perfect and the 3 members of Demolition in a very colorful and exciting opening match. And from there, you also get Hulk Hogan's team versus Earthquake's team, which I thought was ended up being a pretty good match. The aforementioned $1 Million Team versus Dusty Rhodes Dream Team, probably the match of the night, and you get a real good early indicator of Bret Hart and his ability as a singles worker as he closes things out with the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. So there's a lot of stuff to enjoy on that show. The grand finale match of Survival was an interesting concept that didn't really work. I wish they had really stayed with that concept, because I think with a little tweaking, it could have been something cool. As is, it just kind of rang kind of shallow, like whenever WCW did the Battle Bowl, where that never really felt like that big of a deal. It just kind of felt like an empty gimmick. But I think with a little tweaking, it could have been something special if they'd actually dedicated another event or two to that concept. Unfortunately, we never got it again. But it's an interesting one. It's in addition to that, we also get the first instance of an entire Survivor Series team surviving, just clean sweep and surviving all the way through. I won't say who or what match, but if you come along with me on the watch-along and you ultimately select the 1990 event, we get to witness that match as well. So there's plenty of stuff to enjoy from 1990. And the third event I've selected is probably my favorite Survivor Series one of my favorite Survivor Series events that moved away from the team elimination matches, and that would be Deadly Games, the 1998 Survivor Series event, which focused on the championship tournament to crown a new champion. Not a lot to speak of in terms of great matches, but you want a great evolving story over the course of one night that paid off in a huge way. This event does it as flawlessly as you could possibly do. I will go as far to say that this is probably one of the best one-night tournament pay-per-views in the history of wrestling, because that's a very hard concept to do. It's this and King of the Ring 93. Those are the ones that stick out to me as being the ones that really did it well. They're very hard concepts to pull off in a one-night event for a multitude of reasons that have been discussed recently. If you listen to Eric Bischoff's podcast and him talking about why he's not a huge fan of the one-night tournament concept, and he makes some very good points, but if you're going to do it, it's got to be an exciting storyline all the way through, and I thought the 1998 Survivor Series event did that really well. Sacrificed match quality in the process, but I think it came through in huge storyline development, and it came off brilliantly, and I thought it was great. So I'd love to relive that event as well. So those are my three picks: 87, 90, 98. Any one of those three, again, the poll will be posted on my Twitter, and you can go ahead and make your selection, and I will do a live stream on the day of Survivor Series as a watch-along for that event. So you get to watch my reaction to it, and hopefully I can do it in a way that doesn't get me shut down. We shall see. So, let's get into AEW's big announcement today. They're doing a video game, a series of video games, including different platforms, mobile, console, and all that other stuff. To me, this is something that was inevitable, given the current wrestling business model. It's like it would be foolish if they didn't try to get a video game. Even TNA tried to get a video game out there. It wasn't very good, but they did release a video game. And if you're in the position, you have the resources and the ability to produce a video game, it's common sense to do that. And given who's in charge of AEW at the executive president level, the Codys and the Bucks and Kenny Omega, those guys, I mean, I'm sure this is something that's been on their list ever since AEW was conceived. Like, oh yeah, we're doing a video game. And the part that's got everybody buzzing, and the part that's got everybody excited, is that they're teaming up with the original developer of the N64 wrestling games, the ones that we all love. WCW the World, WCW NWO Revenge, WWF WrestleMania 2000, and of course the all-time classic WWF No Mercy on the N64. Apparently they are teaming up with the original developer with Ukes, and they are going to, they have called a No Mercy style game. If they accomplish that, I think that would be stellar. I think video games is something where WWE has been severely lacking for years. It feels like their games have just gotten significantly worse. And again, my nostalgia is for those older like N64 games, but when they transitioned more into the style of what you saw in the SmackDown games, I was kind of like, I'm not really feeling this, not really a huge fan of this, but they're not terrible, they're just kind of there. And it feels like they've gotten worse and worse and worse, just year after year. and they become very arcadey, which is very button mashy, which is great if you're playing something like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, but when you're playing a wrestling game, I feel like that should come with different expectations and different mechanics, and I would enjoy that game differently than I would a Street Fighter or a Mortal Kombat. And in this case, if they can achieve, like, if AEW can achieve, like, a No Mercy style game, I'm all for it, and I'll pick that sucker up in a heartbeat. Of course, I gotta buy a Switch first, but because I'm sure it'll be on the Switch, but yeah, that's my next video game console purchase that's coming. But yeah, it's very exciting, and I think it's a sign of the growth for AEW. This is something I'm sure they wanted to do for a long time, and if they can accomplish it and they can do it again, like I said, TNA tried to do a video game and it was lousy, but hopefully they're able to do it well, do it right, and deliver something pretty cool. Because I would love to see an updated version of No Mercy, or that style of wrestling game that we saw in the N64. The closest we've gotten since then were the Day of Reckoning games on the GameCube, but nobody played those. I feel like nobody played those. But they were actually pretty good. Not quite like No Mercy, but close enough. And nothing else has even come close since then. So if we can get something akin to like a No Mercy style game, I'm all for it. And if they can achieve that, major thumbs up for me. And I'm dying to see how certain moves and certain characters would be realized in like a No Mercy style. Like Pentagon in that style would make me excited. Who was I just thinking of? Oh, Orange Cassidy. Like, how would you even adapt Orange Cassidy into a video game? I'd love to see them try. It'd be hilarious. But there's lots of cool things they can do. And man, Kenny Omega in a game like that would be great. Cody in a game like that would be great. The tag team matches, like FTR, the Bucks, Butcher and the Blade. Plenty of cool things they could do. And I'm excited to see what they can do. I think Cage is somebody who would translate really well to a game like that. It's all very exciting. So hopefully this goes well, and I guess we'll know more as the weeks and months go on while they're developing this thing. But it should be pretty cool. Should be pretty cool. So with that said, now it's time for me to close out this video with my review and my thoughts on Full Gear, AEW's latest pay-per-view event. The 2020 edition of this pay-per-view, second one total. And I will say that I really, really enjoyed the show. I would give it a strong B+. Not quite an A. There were a couple hitches in the road that kept it from being a complete home run, but it was a really solid triple. It was really good all around. A couple, like I said, not everything was perfect and not everything was up to my liking, but this was much better than the previous pay-per-view event that they put on, and overall, I felt like it came off really, really well generally, especially the big matches that I felt delivered pretty well. So, starting off, I did watch the pre-show match, Serena Deeb successfully defending the NWA Women's title against Allison Kay, who recently left the NWA, oddly enough, and I guess this was kind of a tryout match for her. Lately, AEW's been bringing in some women that have helped the women's division in terms of talent, like people like Ivelisse, Serena Deeb, who's a really solid hand. Allison Kay, I think if they pick her up, she would be a good one. Thunder Rosa, I think, is arguably like the most talented woman on the roster. And I think having these women around has really helped bolster things and help make the women's division look a lot better in terms of the matches. Creatively, they've still got a ways to go, and I'll get into that. But they still haven't found that direction. But at least you've got an influx of really solid, crisp workers filling out the division now, which is something that they've been lacking pretty much since the start of the COVID run. And they lost Riho, and they lost some of the Japanese talent that was at least reliable in the ring and could put on solid matches. And then they just kind of got stuck. And then Britt Baker got hurt, which left them in an even bigger hole. So now it looks like they're getting some talent. They just got to find a direction. They got to find a way to present them properly and give these women something to do. So we'll see how it all plays out. I thought this, for a pre-show match, I thought it was solid. I thought it was a nice, solid effort. Like I said, Serena Deeb is a really solid worker all around. She is just the definition of a good hand. So when they picked her up, I was like, that's a good... They need girls like her. Not necessarily as like a top-tier talent, but as someone who can work with the less than stellar talents and make them look presentable. And I think Serena Deeb is really, really good for that type of stuff. And Thunder Rosa came back post-match So hopefully she wins back the NWA World title. We can get that Shida versus Thunder Rosa title for title match, which is probably the best thing that they can do with the women at this point. So, yeah, overall for a pre-show match, I enjoyed it. Then we opened up the show proper with the finals of the Eliminator tournament, with the winner getting a title shot at the AEW World Championship. Kenny Omega defeating his former partner Hangman Page in what I thought was a really, really good match. They didn't kick out of a lot of finishers, so they protected a lot of the big moves, which is good, but they came up with a lot of really cool counters for some of their moves. Like some of the counters for the buckshot from Omega I thought were really, really cool. And I think this was a nice kind of gentleman's duel type of match and didn't have like the intensity of a big grudge match because they're not in grudge match mode yet, which I think sooner or later we're going to get to seeing these two face each other for the AEW World Championship, and when we get to there, that's when you're going to see the crazy, intense, great stuff. But this match overall I thought was really, really good, a very strong opener. I was shocked that they opened with it, but I'm glad that they did because they really opened up with a bang. And Hangman Page, that dude just gets better and better. I'm more impressed with him with each passing match that he has. I thought this was a good match, hot match, great choice to open up the show, and I really enjoyed it. The ending did not surprise me. I was expecting Kenny to win, and I'm glad that he won with the One-Winged Angel. You know, they can go towards making that move feel like this really, really dangerous move that almost nobody kicks out of. So, really good stuff all around there. Then we got Orange Cassidy defeating John Silver in what was basically a filler match. It was a way to showcase Orange Cassidy. It was a way to kind of give John Silver a bit more of a platform because he's kind of been shining lately. It's like, all right, let's see. We'll put him on a pay-per-view, see what he can do. And it was a way to kind of serve as a nice filler match after a really hot opener. So to achieve all of those things, I thought this match was good for that. It was a perfectly acceptable filler match. If you like Orange Cassidy's whole presentation, you probably enjoyed this. I thought it was good, solid, fun, easy win for Orange Cassidy, all things considered, and entertaining. It was a nice filler match for what it was, and a nice kind of cool down match after a really hot opener. So good stuff there. Then we got the AEW TNT Championship match. Cody motherfucking Rhodes. Yes, he now has the name Rhodes, and all is right with the world in that regard. So that was cool to see. I popped big for that. But Cody Rhodes defending the TNT Championship against Darby Allin. This is a rematch of several matches, a series of matches that these two have had, going back to Darby's first match in AEW where he forced Cody to a time limit draw. That excellent match, and that seems to be the story. That one match seems to have impacted their story all the way through. So whenever they meet up again, it feels like there's like this heated history between them, even if they didn't do a lot to build up to the match. And Cody's won every match since, I believe. They even did that one where Darby hit the coffin drop, but Cody kind of caught him off guard and slung him backwards for a quick flash pinfall, which they reference in this match, which I thought was great. And if you've seen their other matches, you know that they have really good chemistry with each other, and they have really good matches with each other. And this was, yet again, an excellent match. I thought these two arguably had the match of the night. I thought it was great. And what made it even better was not only like the great work from Cody Rhodes, who, I mean, can we just say that he's the best worker in the company right now? Like I feel like he's always putting on my favorite matches and doing my favorite things on the show. So, generally I enjoy his matches the most. And I think this was arguably the match of the night. There's one other option I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but I thought Darby and Cody went out there and had an excellent match, made even better by the fact that not only did they reference their previous matches, but they also went ahead and actually gave Darby Allin the win, which was a nice surprise. I was like, oh, they did the title change. That was cool. And rewards the people that paid for the pay-per-view to see a big title change in a big match. And it was a surprise, too. And that's always good. And then we got the post-match stuff I was like, all right, is Cody going to turn heel here? He didn't. But we did get an appearance from Team Taz, Ricky Starks and Cage, who came out and beat the ever-living daylights out of Darby Allin and almost broke his arm on a car door, which looked like the setup for it was really sick. Thankfully, Will Hobbs was out to make the rescue and save Darby Allin, and I'm always up for a Will Hobbs appearance because there's something about that guy I really like, and it's the fact that he's this stocky beefed up Haas. And I'm like, I always like a good Haas. And I'm like, dude, give me more of Will Hobbs versus Brian Cage, and I'll be super happy. We'll probably get a tag match some point soon on Dynamite. And actually, throughout the show, there were a few teasers for things that are going to be happening on Dynamite tomorrow night. We're getting a bunkhouse match, not a bunkhouse brawl, but a bunkhouse match between the Nightmare Family, Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall, and the Butcher and the Blade. It's kind of a payoff to the whole situation with Allie and QT Marshall. Not the greatest storyline in the world, but I am kind of looking forward to that match because A, I love Dustin, and B, I love the Butcher and the Blade. So, and I, of course, see, another reason I love looking at Allie, and I'm sure she will look absolutely gorgeous during that match and provide some entertainment in that regard. So I think that match is going to be good, wild fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. And there were a few other things that were teased for Dynamite as well. It's almost like they put up like a whole card for Dynamite while the pay-per-view was in progress, which I don't have a problem with that. It's like you've always got to have things lined up for the future, so I think that's good to do. And anyway, the TNT title match I thought was great, arguably the match of the night. Next up was not the match of the night. This was the AEW Women's title match between Hikaru Shida and Nyla Rose. Shida successfully defended the title, and I thought this match was overly long. I thought it was a mess towards the end. Like, some of the kickouts were really sloppy. Vicky Guerrero, who's in Nyla Rose's corner, kind of messed up on a trip that they were going to do, or tried to do. Kind of mistimed that. It became kind of this sloppy, overly long mess by the end of it, and I was just thankful it was over when it was done. They teased dissension between Vicky and Nyla post-match. I can't say I care all that much. And this is what I'm talking about right here, where the women's division just cannot get any kind of a solid creative direction. Generally with AEW, the heavyweights and the world title stuff is pretty good, and they've got 2 titles, and they've actually managed to handle that mostly pretty well, generally. And then you look at the tag division, and the tag division is generally pretty solid and has a solid core of teams that they can work with. But the women's division just cannot get on track, and I don't know what it is. And I'm hoping, upon hope, that with the influx of talent that they've got now, that have come in, that of actually really solid talents like the Thunder Rosas, like the Evalises, like the Allison Kay, if she signed up for, like the Serena Deebs, those gals. And with Britt Baker back as a performer in the ring, and her character and what she brings to the table, maybe that'll be your solid core for the women's division. We'll see. But in any case, this match, not my cup of tea. I thought it was bad. And once again, the women's match is the weakest match on an AEW pay-per-view, which is unfortunately more often than not the case. It wasn't at the last pay-per-view, oddly enough, which was their worst show, but the women's match wasn't the reason why. But it's just, they just can't, I don't know what it is. They just can't get on track. So hopefully they do after this pay-per-view. We can get a better women's division out of them. But then we got the tag title match. The Young Bucks defeating FTR to become the tag team champions. This thing got about half an hour worth of time. So it was pretty long, but it was a thrill to watch this match. And the reason I was excited about this match was the clash of styles between these two teams, and it delivered on that in spades, where you got the good old school tactics from FTR to kind of guide things and keep everything on track and keep everything making sense. And you got the exciting action from the Young Bucks to help give it a lot of flash. And through it all, we got like kinds of good stuff here. The Harwood punching the ring post and busting his hand open was a nice little creative thing that they did. Matt Jackson selling his injuries for a lot of the match was really cool to see, and placed the Young Bucks firmly as the baby faces. And the big thing that I think a lot of people came away talking about with this match were them stealing all of the past tag team finishers. Like FTR did the Steiner Bulldog, which I completely marked out for because I'm a huge Steiner Brothers mark. They did the Spike Pile Driver like Arn and Tully used to do. They did the DIY finisher. They generally, the moves they stole were generally like older school type of thing. I think there was a heart attack in there at one point. They did the Powerplex at one point. Kind of like 80s and early 90s style of tag teams, ground and pound. The newest one being DIY, who were their old enemies. And the Young Bucks did the Hardy Boys Twist of Fate Swanton Bomb combination and the 3D. And so they were like kind of like, okay, you were influenced by the 80s and the early 90s. We were influenced by the late 90s, early 2000s, and that generation of tag teams and that high octane energy and excitement and action that they provided. So we're drawing from our influences and you're drawing from your influences. And all around, it was a really fun thing to watch. I think they could have gone even further with it. It's like, dude, we could do a Doomsday Device. We could do the Axe and Smash Demolisher tag team finisher. We can do all sorts of things. Just keep it going. We can do the Bushwhackers Battering Ram. But I don't know. Maybe it would have gotten to a point where it just became a farce. I don't know. But in any case, I thought this was a very exciting tag match from start to finish. And the finish was handled beautifully as FTR, the guys that are, no flips, just fists. I believe it was Cash Wheeler made a mistake. He decided to go for a 450 splash. He decided to be the flippy guy for one move, and it cost him because he missed Matt, no water in the pool, and one super kick later, and we have new tag team champions, the Young Bucks. Great match. I really loved it. A lot of people were saying this was the match of the night, and I agree. I thought it was... it's either this or the TNT title match. I really like both, but this one was really exciting and very, very good. And really a sign of what both teams are capable of. And, this is a tag match that they've been teasing since before AEW was a thing. It goes all the way back to the episodes of Being the Elite with the Fuck the Revival thing. So to see it finally realized here and for it to be as good as it is was really cool. And really one of the biggest highlights of the pay-per-view. Next up from there, we got the Elite Deletion match with Matt Hardy defeating Sammy Guevara. Now, best way to sum this up, if you like the Broken Matt Hardy stuff, you're going to like this. If you don't like the Broken Matt Hardy stuff, you're not going to like this. And it's, if anything, it was, we had that really long tag team match, so if you don't like it, this match served as a break. Kind of a break from the action. You go to the bathroom or do whatever. And if you like this stuff, this was a nice, transition away from the in-ring stuff and to do something, in the words of Monty Python, and now for something completely different. And that's what this was. So, I was okay with it. I popped for Gangrel. That got to pop out of me. And seeing the Hurricane is, I'm never opposed to seeing the Hurricane, because he's such a talented dude and such a funny, silly gimmick. And there was this all around, like the fireworks all going off, and then Sammy and Matt eventually fought inside the dome, where they repeated the spot where Matt got hurt from the last pay-per-view, only this time it was Sammy who took the brunt of the damage, and ultimately it was Matt Hardy who got the win here. Thankfully, nobody was killed this time, and you got some really fun, kooky, crazy spots along the way. Again, if the Broken Matt Hardy stuff or the cinematic matches, for lack of a better term, although I feel like the Broken Matt Hardy matches and cinematic matches are almost two completely different things. The Broken Matt Hardy stuff is almost a completely different animal, especially when they start shooting fireworks at each other and all sorts of things like that. But it was fun. It was goofy. It was silly. It was fun. Got me to pop a couple of times. Nowhere near the best of the Broken Matt Hardy stuff. I think the final Deletion kind of still stands as probably the best one they did. I also like the Tag Team Apocalypto that they did. That one was probably one of their best ones because it officially pushed it so far. It was almost like nothing could ever top this again. But it was fun for what it was, and I enjoyed it. Next up, we got the Battle of the Heels. MJF defeating Chris Jericho and earning a spot into the Inner Circle. This was a fun match. It was basically a battle of two guys trying to out-heel each other. And I really liked how they handled the finish with MJF basically outsmarting Jericho and out-cheating him and out-healing him and doing that whole screwy finish, almost like an Eddie Guerrero thing where he fake getting hit with the bat, and then while Jericho's arguing with the ref, quick roll-up, hold the trunks, and MJF gets the win and earns his way into the Inner Circle, and Jericho welcomes both him and Wardlow into the Inner Circle. So we'll have to see how that story plays out. But one thing I will say, generally I liked the finishes here on this show. I liked, I like roll-up finishes. And I've said this before because, and some people don't, but I like them because if people have to believe that roll-up finishes can end matches, because if they never end matches, then what's the point? From a psychology standpoint, there's no point in the wrestlers ever doing them if they never work. They should work once in a while just to kind of justify the wrestlers constantly using them. And, I thought in the MJF Jericho match it worked really well. I thought in the Darby Allin Cody match it worked really well, with Darby basically catching Cody napping for like half a second and able to get that flash roll-up pin. Even Bucks and FTR, it wasn't a roll-up finish, but it was like a simple, storyline driven thing where FTR decided, all right, we're going to do a 450 splash, and then it blew up in their face, and then one super kick later, and that's it. You didn't need to continue the match for 5 minutes and have 3 or 4 more finisher kickouts to kind of justify having this bombastic climax, when I really felt like your climax was 5 minutes earlier, which is something that I see a lot in matches today. I didn't see it as much here. I think, Omega and Page ended on the big finish with the one-winged angel. I think that's good. Darby and Rhodes, I like the finish to that match. I like the finish to Bucks and FTR. I like the finish to MJF and Jericho. They did a pretty good job all around of protecting finishes. Probably the one exception being, Sheeta and Nyla Rose. They were doing that bit where they were stealing each other's finishers or whatever, and that got annoying as hell. I was so ready to be done with that match. It was ridiculous. But Hardy and Guevara, I mean, that match by its very nature is supposed to be kind of cartoonish and silly, so, but the finish was kind of brutal with the concerto and everything. But generally, I like the finishes on this show, which then leads me into the main event of this event. Jon Moxley defeating Eddie Kingston, successfully retaining the AEW World Championship in an I Quit match. I don't want to sound negative. I didn't hate this match. I actually liked it. I thought overall it was solid, but the problem I have with Eddie Kingston has kind of been the curse of Eddie Kingston, is that he is an amazing promo. The dude can talk. He is an amazing promo. When it comes match time, his matches are so-so. They're fine. And I'm not talking people will go oh, well, what about Hulk Hogan? Hulk Hogan delivers when he delivers exactly what the matches need to be when it comes time to do the match. Eddie, everything about him in ring just screams indie wrestling. Even down to his look, the way he was dressed for this match. Going back to kind of his ROH or indie throwback type of garb, it's he just looks like an indie guy. Nothing about him is convincing, and that emotion that you get out of his promos very rarely ever comes out in his matches. And not to the level of his promos. It's not like Roddy Piper, who is insane on the mic, and then you watch him in the ring. Dude's got 3 moves, doesn't matter. He comes at you like a bat out of hell, so that he brings that intensity to his matches. The intensity that you see in the mic, you see in his matches. Steve Austin, same thing. The intensity you see in his promos, you also see in his matches. And Kingston, there's just something, I don't know, there's just something where it just doesn't translate to his matches as much. Again, I thought the match was good, and it did the brutal spots, the barbed wire and the thumbtacks and rubbing alcohol, which is, which I'm sure was faked, but still, the whole idea of it makes me cringe because it's so unnerving. But so they had that, they had the violence, but it's just, I don't know, there was something lacking in the overall intensity of this match and what you would expect a match like this to have, especially after the promos they were cutting on each other leading up to this thing. So, but it was good for what it was. Also, it's an I Quit match. There was no microphone, which I Quit matches you generally expect a microphone because you want that big moment where the heel finally says I quit. And here, I didn't even realize that he said it. He just kind of whispered it to the referee, and the referee's like, all right, it's over. But, you want the heel to yell it into the microphone to really get the point across. And so often that gets screwed up. WrestleMania 11 comes to mind. There was the Royal Rumble 99 where they did the screwy thing, so you didn't really get a finish to that one, which in that case it worked because of what they were doing. But, yeah, but, you look at things like Sexy Star and Mariposa in that No Mas match that Lucha Underground did. That was, perfect. Exactly. That's exactly what you want for a finish in that one. And here it just kind of was oh, okay. So, solid match, I would say. Solid match all around. I would have been tempted to put the tag match as the main event, but that's just me. But anyway, we closed out the show with a teaser for Moxley Omega 2 Electric Boogaloo, this time with the championship on the line. So we'll have to wait for that and see how all that goes. But that concludes my talk of Full Gear. Like I said, I thought it was an overall really good show. like a solid, hard, exciting B+. Just wasn't quite, a couple mistakes kept it from being like at that A level. But overall, I thought it was very, very good. And like I said, they kind of made me excited for Dynamite. Oh, we've also got a great promo from Jake Roberts and Lance Archer, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do, because every time they talk, I get excited because it's Jake. But it's, yeah, they've got some stuff lined up this week, so it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But Full Gear, like I said, big thumbs up for me. I thought it was a very, very good show. Just not quite great, but very, very good. So, that's all my thoughts on Full Gear. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And be sure to check out the description, where you get a link to my Twitter, where you can fill out the poll, get a link to the Weekday Warrior of Wrestling channel, my podcast with Eric Clancy. We had another delay this week because craziness overtook both of our lives, but we will get the next episode up to you later this week. I should also note that later this week, I'm going to get my final Nitro retrospective video. You should be getting that. If not Friday, definitely Saturday. So that's coming up. Be on the lookout for that. And be sure to like, subscribe, hit the little bell icon so you get notified when I post new videos. And thanks again, everybody, for the support. But I am done here. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and I'll see you all later.